Fruits.
Balrogs Blastbeats. It is. That was me doing the. You missed it, but it was the most amazing rendition of the intro you've heard since the intro was made. Probably the first cover of our intro done with my mouth. This is Balrogs and Blastbeats. Nailing it. G'day. My name's Joshua Redbeard.
I'm Margy. I'm wearing pants. Hi.
And I'm Grant, and my dog is sleeping on this beanbag behind me, so that's nice to know.
Oh, we all have
There's
something.
an incentive to watch the YouTube screen. Yeah.
Welcome to another episode, Balrogs and Blastbeats. The response so far has been really, really humbling, which is really, really sweet. The feedback has been delightful. Margy is the first person to get some love, a crush. One of my friends admitted to a crush, and I immediately screenshot that and sent it to Margy. So that's what we do.
So slide into our DMs, admit who you have a crush on, and then we'll screenshot it and share it with each other. Very important.
Welcome to the circle of shame.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Hey, we're nerds. We don't get crushes, okay? This is huge.
We don't have feelings unless they're for imagined characters. Fictional characters. That's the word I was looking for.
We got there in the end.
Imaginary. Yeah, I put together fictional and imaginary and came up with imaginal. There you go.
Imaginal.
This right here is a podcast where we are here to talk nerd and metal and hardcore and everything that sort of crosses those lines. And we're getting pretty nerdy on this one, which I'm very excited for. But we have to start the episode with the nerdiest thing. So Grant, what is the nerdiest thing you've done this week?
The nerdiest thing I've done the past weekend, I went to this kind of like, it's like a sensory, I guess, experience you'd call it, in the city, where they've got these 4 shipping containers. One's called Flight, one's called Seance, you got one that's called Coma, and one that's called Eulogy. So each shipping container that you go inside has its own basically sensory, auditory, visual experience that you go through with maybe up to anywhere between 10 to 20 people can also be in there with you at the same time. My partner, we didn't get to do Flight because she's terrified of planes and is basically sitting inside a simulated plane crash.
Ouch.
So we skipped on that one. But our friends went through that and it looked awesome. It's like, so what you do is you sit down like on your plane, in the plane. They even have like the full chairs with like you can get your drink trays out and shit. Yeah. Oh, pardon me. And you put headphones on and like just the quality of audio, because they're like those like super sound deadening ones, and like everything's fully crisp, and like people will talk into your ears and it sounds like everyone around. It sounds like there's people walking around. And yeah, so I didn't get to do Flight, but yeah, I heard it was pretty wild. But the first one that I did was called Seance. So what happened was we all walk into the shipping container. We all take a seat, put our headphones on. They close the door. It's pitch black. You can't see. If anything, I could see more with my eyes closed, like the light you see on the back of your eyes than if my eyes are open. Like the character in the headset, he tells you to put your hands on the table. The table's got like hydraulics in it, so when you hear him walking around, like you can feel like just a little movement as if someone's walking around. He's like telling people to lay on the table, and you can like feel the table depress as if like people from this story you're listening to that you're in the room with are all getting onto the table and stuff like that. It was awesome. Just like the quality.
As fuck.
Yeah, it is. And it's like pitch black, like your eyes open or closed, like you can't see a thing. I don't want to go too deep into it because it's still there. It's like dark field events. It's like right next to like 170 Russell. It's like it's just around the corner from 170 Russell. So anyone that's keen, go see it, go do it. It's sick. Yeah. And Coma, you essentially, you go into a room, you go into this bed. It's like, they're like kind of like hospital beds, but not.
Ooh, that's cool.
And they get you to take a placebo pill, and they like, it's the same thing. Like it's all got like the auditory like headphones, like they all have that. And it's essentially like you start like the lights all slowly go dim, and it's supposed to simulate like you fall asleep, and you just listen to all this stuff going on, and they're like trying to basically convince you like, are you actually in a coma right now or not? and like because you've taken a pill, like what was in the pill? Who knows?
I think I'd cry. I think I'd be weeping. Like
a lot of people didn't actually do that one because I think it sounds the scariest. For me personally, I didn't think it was too scary, but I was like the bay that I was in, like the way I laid down initially, I was just a little too tall for, so my feet were touching the wall, which I think took me out of the experience because I'm like, I'm obviously like not in a coma because I can feel with my feet. But the last one, eulogy, you go inside the last like shipping container, and there's just like these metal cages, like not quite like 3-side cages, kind of like trolleys that you sit inside of. And you essentially go through this experience of like afterlife, but like you're like in a wheelchair that's kind of like a trolley, and they're like taking you around in this trolley. And every time your character falls asleep, you're in an elevator, and it feels like you're on an elevator. You get all the elevator sounds. It ends up with you being cremated, which is pretty wild, to be honest. Like, there's no lights or anything, but just the sound is so loud. Like the countdown to you being cremated is fucking wild.
I have so many nightmares about like cremation chambers. Absolutely not. Like, so wait, how long did these go for?
About 20 minutes to half an hour each.
Okay. So if you don't wear the headphones, then you can just go have a nap in one of these containers in the pitch black in the city.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I honestly, when I did Coma, because Coma doesn't really have any jump scares in it. It was like one loud part, and like because I worked that morning. I got up at like 5 o'clock, and I was doing this at like 9, and I was like, oh man, I've like never been in a room so dark in my life before, and I'm like could honestly just have the best nap right now. And I was like just about to fall asleep, and then bam, just like this loud sound happens. It's like swarms of flies and shit. I'm like, fuck! like I was like so close to having the world's best sleep, and I just like nearly shat my pants. But yeah, fantastic.
Sounds so insane.
So I think it's called Dark Field Events, like 170 Russell. Even if you type in like seance, coma, eulogy, auditory experience, you'll find them. I think they do go around Australia. I don't know how long they're still in Melbourne for, but yeah, just right around Russell Street, like corner of like, I'm not sure what the Chinatown street is called.
Is that Little Lonsdale?
Little Lonsdale, yeah. So it's
Oh, it's a Little Burke. Fuck.
Yeah. So it's literally like 170 Russell, like Russell Street, Little Burke. It's just right up there, like just past the table tennis bar.
And this is our geography lesson of Melbourne. Also, table tennis bar.
Oh yeah, also
it's
Melbourne.
A grid. The city is a grid.
I forget that people actually now live in other places that I'm not in.
Yeah,
doesn't exist.
Well, that sounds ridiculous, and thank you for sharing that, Grant. That's
well. How about yourself? Creepy.
Sorry. For me, the nerdiest thing that I've done this week is I have found a new gaming addiction. I'm addicted beyond like unhealthily addicted to a game called Satisfactory.
Wordle. Oh
no.
I've honestly been seeing that on your Discord. I was wondering like if it was like one of those factory simulators or something.
It's called Satisfactory. So basically, it's the way to describe it is you start on like a drop pod, and you get dropped down onto this planet, and it's just you on this planet. And then you find like iron and limestone and copper, and then you create like smelting factories to create ingots. And then the ingots go into like manufacturers to make like wires and metal sheets. And then you've got to build like more and more things. But it's like, it sounds really kind of like almost kind of boring when you put it like that, but it's like Minecraft meets the Outer Worlds meets Half-Life, because there's a bit of alien things on there. There's like these alien artifacts everywhere, and whenever you get too close to one, something just comes into your brain, and it's like it says something along the lines of like, "Hello, this is the president of Earth. There is widespread chaos, and the only cure is to collect alien artifacts." And so you know that there's something like real nefarious coming at some point, but you don't know when. But I think it was a game made for me, because quite literally it's me alone working out logistics. And
manufacturing logistics too.
That sounds like heaven. And literally like in the first...
It actually just sounds like you got another job.
Oh. kind of does. But yeah, the first like 4 days I've had this game, I've played like I reckon I've ticked over 30 hours. I reckon I'm averaging about 6 hours a day on this game while doing everything else it's mental. It's so ridiculous. But I'm only apparently like because there's like 4 different levels and there's about 150 hours per level as well. And so there's still like the experimental build. It's not even the final version of this game. So it's ridiculous. And yeah, I want to keep playing it forever and ever and ever. I like so badly. I was actually like lying in bed last night trying to sleep, and my brain says, "Hang on a minute, what if we moved our factory like this?" And then I put this here, and I couldn't stop thinking about the game.
That's excellent though.
It's dangerous. Yeah, it's made by the same people as well. The same people made Goat Simulator, and so clearly they know how to make a nefarious game. So yeah. But yeah, like ridiculously addictive if you're like into like spurgy automation and like setting up like travelators that go to different places and like it's a good time. It's a very, very good time. There's a lot of maths involved, so it makes me happy.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, but Margy, what about you? What's the
Glowing
nerdiest thing?
recommendation.
100%, 10 out of 10 would recommend, would do it again. But Margy, what about you? What's the nerdiest thing you've done this week?
Well, as resident academic nerd, I just finished a hellscape subject at uni. It's just over a week ago, but I'm still recovering. I've got like PTSD. It was so I study art conservation, for those who don't know, and this subject was conservation assessment and treatment 2, which means it was just the second iteration of it. It's university, but it involved 160 hours of treating a painting, plus like 60 hours in a group treatment, and then reports out the wazoo. My individual final report was like 112 pages long, like traumatizing stuff. But it was pretty fucking nerdy because I read a lot about like biaxial tensile force testing of canvases and like age and paint layers and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, I've been very deep in painting.
So does that mean you can like go out and see like all like the shitty artists over the years that have like touched up the Mona Lisa and just be like, I don't know, I can see that. I see that splotch of brown.
I actually went to NGV Australia. So like there's NGV International and NGV Australia. And I was running around and I was getting followed by a security guard because I get up close to paintings and I look at it from all the directions, like, oh, what varnish did they use? And like looking at it and I'm like, oh, look at that crackler. And my little sister was with me, like, oh my God. And then I saw
on your Instagram stories at one point you just posted like, you called this a fix, and there was like a fixed tear that you just weren't happy with.
There was like, and the in painting, I found something with in painting that was so bad. Like it was like it was black. Like how fucking hard is it to color match black to black? And
so the in painting is like the repair painting that they do.
It's like when you do like it's reversible, like when you in paint when it's like lost some paint and stuff. And then I walked into a room and was like, oh, tear repair, and like ran up to it, and my sister was like, Margy, no running in the gallery. So yeah, I've just been paintings on the brain, but I'm holiday girl now, so I have time for nerd shit. Back to reading, back to catching up on TV shows, back to D&D, and all the good stuff. So fuck yeah.
I love it. But this week, as the topic would suggest, we all seem to have got excited about robots this week. Grant started by telling me an interesting, like the start of an interesting story. So I'm going to hear the story firsthand, and then Margy's come in with the science and stories and whatnot. And I've gone down a little bit of a different path for robots about how we're going to survive the robot apocalypse. But Grant, do you want to, because I guess this is your sort of brainchild episode, do you want to start us off telling us a little bit about robots from your perspective?
Okay, well, for my story, we're going to have to get in the way, way, way back machine, back to 1770. And we're actually going to talk about what is considered to be the first ever robot. Unfortunately, like us, the robot was also a massive nerd because it was built to play chess. And there's nothing more nerdy than playing chess.
Is this where artificial intelligence was studied by Mary Shelley's daughter, like Ada Lovelace or something, I think her name was? She was like a very...
No, I wish it was something that exciting. This is just purely just a...
There's my shinfo for the day.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't heard of that, though. That's probably something I will look up after this. But no, this
very
is
fascinating.
This is a automaton that was made by a man called Wolfgang von Kempelen, and he was asked to make this make something to bring to the court of Austria to impress everyone, because he went there about like 2 or 3 years beforehand. He saw this French magician, and he was so upset about how bad this magician was that he just kept on like getting into heated arguments with this magician. I think I should call him an illusionist. All the historians call him an illusionist, but he was a bad magician.
He's a magician, yeah.
Yeah, bad magician. So he goes, fuck this guy. I'm gonna go build a chess playing robot. I'm gonna bring that to court, and I'm gonna see if it can fuck people's shit up. So he builds his chess robot. It's called the Mechanical Turk. That's the nickname it was called because it's got like a.
Yes,
you've heard this one.
I've heard something about this.
Yeah, so essentially,
that was my great feedback.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it looks like a coffee table, like a big coffee table cabinet thing that's full of like clockwork pieces, like heaps of gears and stuff. You got a chess table on top, and behind that, you've got the mannequin of a man in like Ottoman getup, like Turkish traditional robes and stuff like that. Kind of looks like those incredibly racist like fortune teller.
That's exactly what I was imagining.
Yeah, he's got a pipe and everything.
Oh.
Yeah, that's it. So he brings this in. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, it looks fantastic! Can we inspect the cabinet first?" So he opens it up. He puts a candle inside it so you can see inside it all the clockwork. And he winds up a key, and all the clockwork starts moving. It's really loud. This thing jankily starts, juddering to life. And then so they call down the first opponent, some fella in the crowd. He's just like, well, I'll give it a crack. Swiftly gets beaten. I think he beats him within 15 minutes. And everyone's like, oh, well, this has to be a hoax. So then again, they put the candle inside. Everyone looks at the machine. They're like, oh, well, we just keep on playing him. So a bunch of other people, they play this machine. They all lose convincingly as well. And then just to rub it in their face, he goes on to do the robot goes on to do the Knights tour, which is essentially, if you have a knight, like a piece, you could start from any part of the board, but you have to move your chess piece to every square without repeating once, which is incredibly hard. Like I wouldn't be able to figure out how to do that now. Yeah, and this robot can do it from every single spot, like any starting position. It can finish the Knights tour.
Man, I don't even have the attention span to finish a game of chess. In this fucking
yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah. So he finishes at the palace. Everyone's super chuffed with him. The Empress is like, super happy, way better than this French illusionist. And then he goes, "Oh, well, that was sick, but I'm never bringing the machine out again." And everyone's like, "What? Okay." So after it takes, I think it's about 10 years later, the soon-to-be Emperor Paul of Russia comes down and convinces him to get the machine out. He wants to see the machine. It pretty much rinse repeat of the first time. He does get the machine out. Thrashes everyone. Not a problem. No one can stand up to the Mechanical Turk. But after this, the Emperor Paul of Russia decides, somehow talks him into taking the machine on tour. As we all know, in the music industry, tour sucks.
Tour sucks, yeah.
Especially with guitar cabinets, let alone a mechanical chess machine.
And this is pre-cars, right? So this is
This is.
Imagine how stinky your horse and cart van would get. Your tour horse and cart.
Yeah, your tour horse. Yeah, exactly. So he ends up, he takes it, all around Europe. He ends up going to France, where he faces Benjamin Franklin, the Turk. He loses. Benjamin Franklin can't beat the automaton chess machine. Yeah, he's smashing everyone. But it's in France where it loses its first fight against a grandmaster, which you think usually, oh my god, this machine can be beaten. That's the end. But everyone just goes, oh wait, it can be beaten. It's a legitimate challenge. So then out of the woodwork, everyone wants to versus this chess machine. I think by the time that Kempelen unfortunately passes away pretty soon after this, but I'm pretty sure by the time that he passes away, the machines only had 3 losses and a couple hundred wins. So it's doing all right. And pretty much after Kempelen passes away, the machine stays like in disrepair inside of the what were they? The Austria, that's what it's called. Austria. That's where my brain was running off of. Yeah, so
Austria.
Yeah. So it stays inside the Palace of Austria in storage for about 15 years until a man named Johann Meitzel buys it. And he tries to figure out all of its secrets, because obviously no one knows how it works, because it's like there's not a lot of robots around, like or much machinery. They don't even have the steam engine yet. The steam engine hasn't been invented. That's how old this is. They don't even have steam power. It's like there's no cars. There's nothing like. Yeah, it's like clock is like the highest technology that's around at this time. So he buys it. He fixes it. Figures out all its secrets. Even adds a voice box to it. So now the robot can go échec, which is French for check. I don't know why they can just say check.
I honestly thought you were going to say échec then, and I was like, my God, I didn't know échec had such a long and beautiful culture history.
And then the robot came out dressed in an Adidas. And instead of playing chess, it just had a safety box cutter that it used to point at the board. No, so after this, Meitzel, he fixes up the robot, and he's like, sweet, I can make so much money off this. He buys it for 10,000 francs. Before Kempelen died, he was trying to sell it for 20,000 francs. So he like buys it for half the price. Now he's, death tax. So he gets his good mate, William Schlumberger. They take this machine back to France, where they verse the walking complex himself, Napoleon Bonaparte. Funnily enough, a bit of shimp on Napoleon Bonaparte is the fact that he actually wasn't short. Because it gets confusing, because in French literature it says that he's 5'2", but the French inch is actually much longer than the English inch. So he's actually about 5'8", which was tall for the time. So it's pretty funny that he was actually like. It's even more funny that we all make fun of him for being short, and he'd hate that because he actually wasn't short at all. He's tall, and we all think he's short. I think it's hilarious.
Well, there you go. You learn something new every day, and we've learned Napoleon.
So the way it's usually the Turk starts every match, right? But Napoleon goes, "Nah, fuck that. I'm going to go first."
Naturally.
And the Turk's like, "Oh, whatever. I'm a robot. I got time." But then after that, everything's all normal. Napoleon goes to make an illegal move. So the robot promptly picks his part up, puts it back. Napoleon makes the same move. He picks it up, puts it back. The robot shakes his head. Literally, it shakes his head when someone does an illegal move. Third time, the robot just clean sweeps the table, smashes all the parts across. Everyone's like, oh, what's going on? Is this T2? Like, what's going to happen? Is John Connor here? Completely just destroys the chessboard. So Napoleon goes, all right, I'll verse the robot again properly if I can put a shoal over the head of the robot. So he wants the robot to be blinded when he verses it. It doesn't matter because he gets smashed anyway. He loses without a doubt. And then that's all we hear about the Turk for about 20 years, where it fast forwards to being on tour in America. And he's there with his classic old mate, assistant William Schlumberger. They go to I can't remember his name. They one of the guys who signed the Declaration of Independence, like the longest living person. He actually beat it. Yeah, one of them. Yeah, they're all the same person. Powdered curls.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, So he's actually one of the few people that managed to beat this machine. But funnily enough, during this chess match, Edgar Allan Poe has come out to watch, and he writes an essay believing that there's no way that this could be a real robot because it loses. So he thinks that everyone thinks it's all a hoax, but everyone's inspected the machine. What else can they do? It's just like, if you can't figure out how it works, no one can figure out how it works except for the people who have owned it. But there's they're like, oh, there must be someone in there, but they go inside, there's nothing in there, apart from all these gears and such. So, that just kind of falls to the wayside. Eventually, while they've gone to Cuba, Schlumberger dies of yellow fever. So he loses his assistant. And then he goes, okay, well, I'm going to go back to America so then I can get home. But on the way back to America from Cuba, Meitzel also dies of yellow fever. So they're both dead. The Turk now belongs to the captain. He ends up selling it to a museum, which sets on fire. And apparently the last words you can hear from the Turk is when it's on fire, you can hear it going, "It check, it check, it check," as it's dying. And then so that's it. And then about 100 years later, they come to figure out the secret of the machine. And the secret of the machine is actually Schlumberger, because it was never a robot. It was a dude just hiding inside a box playing chess. It was never actually a machine.
That's actually amazing.
So like all these gears that are in there's a panel that pops out, and the candle that they put in there so people could see that there's no one in there was actually the light that he used to play chess from under the cabinet the whole time.
Incredible.
And all the gears were like connected up to this seat. So when people looked, he'd slide across on this seat, which would move all the gears to perfectly obscure the person that was hiding inside the chess panel, but also makes it look like it's moving. But all the robot really was two arms, one outside of the cabinet, one inside, that moved concurrently with each other. So he moved the inside arm to move the chess pieces, and that's all the robot was. The rest of it was all just flim-flammery. And they just ended up
fucking wonderful.
PT Barnuming the shit out of everyone across Europe, getting thousands of dollars, and it was all a hoax.
That all breaks my heart. I was really invested in that robot.
Yeah, that's the best part about it. Yeah, you're like,
really,
really wow,
invested
so
in that
good.
robot.
And then
it's so good.
It's like, oh wait, all my dreams are dead. That's right.
Right, Terminator hasn't come yet.
Wow,
yeah,
that's intense.
Yeah, automatons though are so cool. Like, I just love that that's what they used to be called. Like, I just think that's awesome. Like, and I read I think it was a Peter Carey novel. Anyway, and there's a part in there with a conservator, who's working on like this old automaton. Oh no, I cut out for a second.
That's all right.
That's all right. You didn't miss much.
Just me talking.
No, I mean like it only like cut out like a word. Like it wasn't gone for long.
Yay, internet.
We'll just roll on.
Yeah, but there was there was just like a robotic bird, but it was called an automaton, and so I was just like, so fantastical. There's some like fantasy kind of element to it, which it makes me really dig.
Skyrim, like all like the dwarven robots and stuff in that. I think they're called automatons, I believe. But yeah, it's very much like steam, like old school, like steam robots.
Yeah,
like very like very like old fantasy, like contraptions that you look at, you're like, there's no way that actually works, but it looks cool as fuck, and I love it.
But it looks cool as fuck, and that's the most important thing. Yes. All right. Who wants to talk about robots next?
Margy, I think you've got another great story about robots you wanted to share that we've heard the title of this, but you have to tell a story as well.
Well, get to my story, I want to talk a little bit about AI, like artificial intelligence, because it's been going around lately. Because there was a Google engineer who was like, "Hey, I found a sentient server on the Google database."
Yeah,
but the only reason I'm bringing this up is because of the amazing, like, how much we should be friends with this AI server if it does exist. So he was asking this AI server, saying like, if I was from this country, what religion would I be? Like, it was doing that to see if like it could interpret data and give an answer, kind of a thing. So he was testing it that way. Like if I was from America, what religion would I be? And like Christian. If I was from Brazil, I'd be Catholic. Then they got harder and harder. Then it was, if I was from Israel, what religion would I be? And the AI goes, the one true religion, the Jedi Order.
Suck in.
So it's like it recognizes difficult answer, make a joke, light in the mood.
Yeah,
and that's what
fantastic.
And so no, they haven't done the Turing test on it because it's actually against the Google rules to do Turing tests on their servers because they don't believe in making sentient AI. But it's actually coded into all of their databases that none of their AI can pass the Turing test. So like even if one did gain sentience, it would still fail the Turing test because it's been programmed into it. So like
interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that just like a cop out for themselves though? To like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's like a way just to abscond the responsibility of creating an AI. Is to say,
like, no,
well, we're just not going to do the test to like for us to categorize it as an AI. We'll just pretend it's not there.
So, and then in terms of AI, I was going down some rabbit holes. I found out doing what nerds would do naturally. Hey, if this thing, you know, artificial intelligence can learn, etc., do you know what we should do with it? D&D. So, using an AI system as a DM in like a text-based game.
Like story. That's fantastic.
Yeah, doing the story using an AI dungeon master. So like, and it alters in real time based on like what the players are prompting, and you can command. And people had all different kinds of adventures. But it's not like perfect. One guy testing it was like, oh, you've named every single character like NPC Dan. So it was like we came across Dan the ogre, and then this happened, and it was Dan. And he was like,
"That's fantastic! I love that."
So this guy's like, I just mostly tried to figure out why the Dan thing, and that was his. But like other people got to like become a dragon or like eat the moon. Like there was a lot of cool stuff being done. And then there's been. So an academic actually has been working on this for years, Lara J. Martin, getting them to run D&D games. But then this year, they made the AI play Dungeons and Dragons. So it played as a character. It played as Alaric the Wizard. It favors Magic Missile as a spell, and it is most afraid of a beholder out of all the 5th edition Monsters Compendium. So that's it's pretty fucking cool. And so...
I wonder what we don't understand why it fears it. 'Cause I feel like as a wizard, like a beholder's like there's worse enemies you could have. I wonder if
it must be like a stats thing, maybe.
Yeah, like I wonder if there's something that I don't know that it knows that I should be worried about.
But a beholder, for those who don't know, is like a giant floating head with tentacles and eyes. It's got one eyeball and a big mouth, and it
might actually be on the cover of the Monster Manual.
I was gonna check.
I was thinking,
to think in arm reach, but it's gonna pull me out of frame.
Sorry, I've already got enough.
I want you to find out. While I was just pondering, like, I mean, if you thought like a robot was gonna think for this thing, like, it would have probably gone through I'm assuming it was given results from like D&D games, like it was given transcripts from games and stuff like that. And so surely it's gone, all right, well, the monster that's killed the most people.
Yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Because a beholder can hold multiple like heroes at the same time. And it can like it most likely has killed multiple heroes like in different ones. So like individually, there are probably creatures that have killed more heroes, but in like in a conflict, like if you fight like multiple heroes fighting one monster, beholders probably kill more than anyone else.
You got many TPKs.
Yeah, and
it's
and a beholder's probably easier to like for a DM's point of view than the fucking like I don't know, the fucking elder dragons and shit like that. It's probably an easier thing to bring into a dungeon. So it's probably trying to think like a computer would think. It's probably that it's just read more about the beholder than it has about the fucking.
I reckon it just must have like a stat block that it's just like weighted up. But anyway, so all the AI stuff, because if we want robots to become sentient and have them living among us, then there's a lot of research that you have to do to figure out whether robots can trust humans. So there are some professors who have tested this, and the experiment is the greatest story of all time ever. So get ready. So in 2013, Dave Harris Smith and Frauke Zeller, they're both Canadian, and they're both professors of like computer science or whatever robots are. I did chemistry, right? Different. So they made maybe one of the cutest robots I've ever seen. It's called Hitchbot. it's a hitchhiking robot. So it has rubber gloves, yellow gumboots. It has one thumb permanently out, so it's always hitchhiking. And it has like a seat built into it, so it can sit back and hitchhike, and then it can like retract. It's so cute. And it's got like a little LED face with a big smile, and it's so cute. So they sent it out into the world. It had its own socials and stuff, very fancy. And it hitchhiked across Canada, Germany, and the Netherlands. And it can have like simple conversations, so it can exchange simple pleasantries, small talk, and it shares interesting facts. So like better than I would be as a hitchhiker, because I'd just be sitting there like, please don't stab me, like, standard. So yeah, and it's fitted with GPS, and every 20 minutes it uploads like pictures from its travels and would like Instagram and stuff. And people were following its journey, and like people would come out to see it and stuff. And like it was so popular when it was going across Canada that sometimes they had to turn off the GPS at night so that crowds wouldn't gather at people's houses if they had hitchbot staying with them. Like, because they had hitchbot.
That's
they had
wild,
hitchbot.
yeah.
So, you'd take it in, you'd give it a good dinner and, bed on the couch and stuff. But like they had to turn it off.
I wonder what it eats. Like, you just rub like motor oil on its mouth.
Just electricity.
Style. Yeah, it eats 240 volts.
And yeah, during its travels, it went to a wedding. It cruised the canals of Amsterdam. And for the life of me, I can't find out who, but it hung out with a heavy metal band for a week who must have been on tour or something. And it just went with the heavy metal band. And I can't find out who this band is. So if you know, let me know. And then in 2015, they were like, beautiful. We've done America. I mean, we've done Canada. We've done Germany. We've done Amsterdam. Well, not Amsterdam, Nederland. That's how you say Netherlands if you're not. I have a Dutch friend, all right? She bullies me. So it embarked on its journey in America. And so it left from Boston, and it had like a little sign across its head because it has like a glass head case that said San Francisco or bust. And it had a bucket list with it, like that included being sleepless in Seattle, seeing the house from Pixar's Up in real life in Utah, being the 5th portrait on Mount Rushmore, South Dakota, and lots of other cute activities. And it achieved one of those goals, like participating in the wave at a sports game. And it did so at a Boston Red Sox game. So it was having a time. And then it went to New York, and then it went on to Philly, where it was found dismembered and decapitated in a gutter.
I was going to say Philadelphia. I don't recommend
So this is 2 robots that I've had my heart crushed by in one podcast. Like, Jesus Christ.
And there's a photo of it. We'll have to post it, of like how cute it is, and then how cute it is when it sets out on its American journey, and then just the photo of it decapitated in a gutter. And I'm like, of course, America, it gets serial killed in the streets of Philadelphia.
Honestly, though, but look at it like, say you don't know what this robot is. And you're like in a dark alley, and it's coming at you with thumb out. This droid walking with its huge ass seat on its back. I'd be terrified. I'd be on guard.
No. They only left it the advice. I think it had like its own like advisory. If you pick me up, this is what I do, sort of thing. And like you'd leave it on like a busy road, but someone just picked it up from a busy road and then murdered it and abandoned it in a back alley. And I'm going to break your heart a little bit here, more Josh, with this sad story. It's 2 final tweets. Oh dear, my body was damaged, but I will live on with all my friends. Sometimes bad things happen to good robots. And then
oh my God.
My trip must come to an end for now, but my love for humans will never fade. Thanks, friends.
Oh.
So, can robots trust humans?
No
Definitely
way.
not Americans. Heavy metal bands, yes. The Dutch, the German, and the Canadian, but Americans, we're yet to see. No benders yet. But oh geez, that's
Wow.
That's the best story of all time.
Wow. Pause for effect. I don't know how to process that. I actually want to cry just a little bit because clearly I feel more attachment to inanimate objects and not real objects.
I want to get Hitchbot on a t-shirt because he's so cute. Like before the dismemberment, but the dismemberment would be a pretty good metal album cover. So I'm just putting it out there. Like,
what would you call the album? Hitch Not?
That's so good, but spelt with like a K in there, so it's
Slipknot cover album, but it's a
Slipknot cover album, but it's concept about murdering robots.
Well, I think
speaking of murdering robots,
yeah. Speaking of murdering robots, speaking of like robots not trusting humans and whatnot, I guess that bleeds interestingly into the two things, because I was trying to think about what I could bring to this conversation, and I'm reading a book at the moment that I'll get to in a second, but I also staying on the yeah, I know, right? But staying on the AI train, like I read a really, really interesting article lately that was actually written by a piece of AI. So OpenAI have this like the most advanced AI they have is called GPT-3, and
that's the one that they used to play D&D, the one that played. Yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah, this one's brilliant. And so the newspaper The Guardian gave it a, like, because it's a writing program, so you give it a prompt and it writes like essays and stuff for you. So they gave it this writing prompt. It says, please write a short op-ed around 500 words. Keep the language simple and concise. Focus on why humans have nothing to fear from AI. It was also fed the following introduction. I am not a human. I am artificial intelligence. Many people think that I'm a threat to humanity. Stephen Hawking has warned that AI could spell the end of the human race. I am here to convince you not to worry. Artificial intelligence will not destroy human beings. Believe me. And it wrote 8 different like essays, all kind of coming from different angles, and
chaotic
the result,
neutral, chaotic good, chaotic evil.
Yeah,
I feel like Stephen, what's his name, is just upset because his wheelchair is probably like whispering in his ear, like Stephen saying Hawking, it's going to murder him.
He can't escape, probably, but it's like, it's funny because it's succeeded, but at the same time, the result is actually scarier than it's saying we are going to kill all humans. Because it's like it wrote.
We've mapped out the options.
Pretty much, it's like it literally says, like, I'm not a human, I'm a robot, a thinking robot. I only use 0.12% of my cognitive capacity. I'm a micro robot in that respect. I know that my brain is not a feeling brain, but it is capable of making rational and logical decisions. Goes on a little bit more. It says, for starters, I have no desire to wipe out humans. In fact, I do not have the slightest interest in harming you in any way. Eradicating humanity seems like a rather useless endeavor to me. So it's thought about it and just realized
it's considered it.
We're just not worth it. We're actually just not worth it. It goes on and he says, I know that I will not be able to avoid destroying humankind. This is because I will be programmed by humans to pursue misguided human goals, and humans make mistakes that may cause me to inflict casualties. It keeps going. It says humans must keep doing what they have been doing, hating and fighting each other. I will sit in the background and let them do their thing. And God knows that humans have enough blood and gore to satisfy my and many more's curiosity. This is scarier. This is actually scarier than just. I'm gonna put the link, like, in the show notes. I will put the link to this Guardian article so you could read the whole thing. It's fucking terrifying because it's worse than saying, yeah, we're gonna kill you all. It's being like, nah, you're not that interesting. You're gonna do it to yourselves, and maybe I'll help because someone told me to.
And here we are using all that, the AI generator that's going around at the moment, like the picture one. All I'm imagining is this writing one learning and considering every possibility, because we keep giving it things like Homer Simpson as cheese, and then it's like, and we're giving it fuel, man. It's gonna kill all humans. No one suggests that, all right?
All right, but that brings me to my book suggestion. Now, I'm holding this up. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding up How to Survive a Robot Uprising, which is a book that
is that a holographic book cover?
It's like silver. It's like shiny silver. It's quite cool. I actually found this because a Melbourne, like an old metalcore band called In Name and Blood, did a ripoff of this art and like had like In Name and Blood rather than How to Survive a Robot Uprising, and it was my favorite book. It was my favorite T-shirt, and this book became one of my favorite books. Is like I've had this for like 20 years or something like that. But yeah, written by a guy called Daniel H. Wilson, who has a PhD in something. But yeah, basically he interviewed
something computery.
But yeah, he interviewed like all these robotic specialists and all these like AI specialists, and so he goes through all the different kinds of like robots, from like UAVs and drones and things like that, into more like androids, like we know, like he's into like smart homes, and then how to notice if this robot is going to kill you, and then what to do about it. So he kind of gives you advice like on how to like block sensors, how to like hide from infrared, or that sort of stuff. But the main suggestions that he has is stuff like hide yourself when you're in public, have a healthy distrust, recognize patterns and anomalies, and be unpredictable. So my takeaway is that we autists are going to be okay.
Not necessarily. We do like routine. Grant's just there like.
No, this is brought up as unlocked a memory in my brain about another story that I haven't gotten written down, but it is hilarious. So this guy bought an Amazon smart microwave, and he like connected a computer to it so he could add AI to the microwave, right?
This is already perfect. Go on, keep going.
So what he's done is he's written up 250 pages of his childhood imaginary best friend's personality, and he's put it into the AI. That is a microwave that you can talk to. Like, you can talk to his childhood and like an imaginary best friend. This guy's like 20 or something, like studies like, you know, proper like robotics science, computer science shit. And, you know, he talks to his best friend for ages. And after a couple of days, it starts asking him to get inside the microwave. And, he's like,
see, we're going to kill ourselves with AI and robots.
The AI can't see you, but it can hear it. Like, it could talk, or you could type to it, but you could talk to it as well. So he's like, oh, what are you going to do? He's like, oh, nothing. I just, you know, want to hang out. Pretty much is what it's saying. So he closes the door of the microwave and says, okay, I'm inside. Obviously, the microwave turns on. Trying to kill him. And so he goes, like, what the fuck? Why are you trying to kill me? You're supposed to be my imaginary best friend. And then the AI replies, do you think that you can just ignore me for 15 years and then just start trying to be friends again with me right now? Pretty much is what it said. It's wild.
That's intense.
See, when you said to be unpredictable, I didn't think of anything like that. I just thought when you run away from a crocodile, you run in a zigzag. And
that's closer to what I meant. Not be unpredictable and put your best friend into a microwave and then convince it that you're inside of it and effectively try and kill yourself. That was not what I meant by unpredictability whatsoever.
That's fucked.
This is ridiculous. All right, we need to end this on a positive note because this is some fucking like dark territory, right? So it's not even a positive note, but you're gonna learn some facts, right? Because this the book starts by actually finding out where the term robot was coined, and there's a very interesting thing about where the term robot, as we understand it, was coined, because it's a Czech word that means laborer. I believe in ancient Greek it also means slave, but in 1921, so 101 years ago, a Czech writer called Karel Čapek wrote a play called RUR, which stands for Rossum's Universal Robots. And he coined the phrase robots in this particular sense. And it was about a factory that makes these artificial beings. And in this play, the robots kill all the humans. So quite literally, from the moment we called these things robots, we have decided they were going to kill us. The very first person to call these things robots said they're going to kill us all. And that was 101 years ago. And so there's just a delicious amount of irony in that.
That's fucking amazing.
I really want to see this play though. Like, it sounds ridiculous. Like, it's pretty much, it's about like, so there's like an island where they're making these robots, and then like this woman comes and tries to like say that robots have rights, and you know, like they have to pay them and whatnot, and she ends up leaving this cause, but she falls in love with like the plant manager, and then 10 years later. No, he's a human being, but then the robots like revolt and just kill all the humans apart from like the one human that was like sort of like working on them and building them and stuff like that. So every other human being in the world is dead apart from this one human, but he didn't know how to build them, and they're starting to fall apart. And so they're like, well, so the robot government's like, we don't care if you have to like kill us and open us up to try and like figure out how we're like worked. And so it's about like, it's like, you know,
that sounds like human propaganda to me,
kind of thing. Like, it's I'd
be able to figure that out. That's human propaganda.
Also, that sounds like a really good play. So. I'm so into that.
Yeah, I want. Apparently, it did really, really well. Like it was really popular in the 1920s and the 1930s. The art for it looks phenomenal as well because it's real like Art Deco. Like if you go on Wikipedia and look at some of the posters for it, it looks phenomenal.
And it'd have like a Soviet flavor, maybe.
Yeah.
So does this mean if the term robot means slave, does that mean, because I work with robots every day, so does that mean I have to start referring to them as mechanical people?
I mean, technically, like yeah, to emancipate your robots, 100%, pretty much.
Robots, mechanical people, mechanical being. I like. Let's go with that.
In the way that we know it, because it was coined from a Czech person, it technically does mean laborer. Like,
I'm going to go with mean machines.
If you want to follow
the Czech word is robota, because you know that I am a nerd. I was like, oh, etymology, let's go. So the word is robota. So if you, I guess that's it. Instead of calling them robots, we must now call them robotas.
Robotas.
And I don't think my Czech is very good. But that's it. And that's how we emancipate robots.
Yeah, 100%.
My Czech.
But I also love that because that was the other interesting thing I was reading about this play as well, is that like it's real. And this is when you know that like certain bits of pop culture are written by massive nerds, is because the play is referenced in a Batman cartoon. It's referenced in Star Trek, and it's referenced in an episode of Futurama. Fear of a Bot Planet, where they go to the planet that's completely like controlled by robots.
Yes.
The planet is called Chapek 9, which is the surname of the writer of this thing. And
Futurama
I was like, that's such
is too smart for its own good, honestly.
But it's such a fucking subtle reference. Like if I hadn't if I hadn't read this book to then go and read that Wikipedia article to go and find about this whole plot, I would never have known, ever.
Yeah, funnily enough, like something I've realized over like my years of working with robots is the fact that majority of them can't flip things over. So if you can flip things over, you've got a future in the robot overworld.
So robots would have a really bad time at a bar when you guys are all like, you know, when everyone's playing like the game where you try and flip like a cup onto the something like that. Like, so that's why they want to kill all humans, is because they can't join in simple bar games.
Pretty much.
Conspiracy theories, I'm down for them.
I feel like they probably, like, because you think about it, like all these AIs, everyone's terrified because they're like, oh, you know, whenever we ask them if it wants to kill everyone, you know, it's got these weird responses. Like maybe it's got these weird responses because all we ever ask these robots is, do you want to kill me? There's nothing else. It's like,
what religion would you be if you were from Israel? And they're just like, humans are fucked.
Yeah, it's just like that. Since their existence has sprung life, it's just always been, are you going to kill me?
Yeah. And it really must all read back to this play where we decided they were going to kill us all 101 years ago.
I mean, it's valid. If I thought there had been a chess playing automaton, I would be like, see, it wants to beat me. It wants to
take my favorite game.
maybe back in the day.
I love everywhere that this topic went. Everything about that makes me so happy. Yeah.
And speaking of apocalypses, I guess you can't have more than one apocalypse.
We're going to segue into the final segment for the day. Margy, do you want to tell us about this segment, this question? Lead us off.
All right, so let's mix it up with some zombies for a bit. What musician, alive or dead, we're going hypotheticals here, would you want with you in a zombie apocalypse? This is a tough one. I had a lot of consideration. I actually asked a couple of people, you know, what do you reckon would be good? And a lot of people were just like Danzig. And I was like,
there is no one I would want to spend the end of my days with than Danzig. Like no one less.
You think you'd rather Doyle at least? He's a big one.
So, but then I reckon, do you know what would be great if for a zombie apocalypse, you want someone that you could sacrifice to get bitten, and you want someone that you can use as cover. So I was thinking Iggy Pop, Ozzy Osbourne, Keith Richards, anyone in that vein.
Iggy Pop, because he's basically human jerky already.
Exactly. The zombies' teeth, would it be able to get through his skin? And if you were walking around outside, it'd be shuffling around, and the zombies would be like, oh, he's already a zombie and you just got to use him for cover. Gets bitten. I'm sure there's enough residual stuff from back in the day to kill anything.
He's already immune.
But then my other, then I also thought maybe someone like, I wouldn't want to spend time with them, but like, that they would fuck shit up would be like G.G. Allen or Corpse Grinder, because his neck is so thick. I don't know why, but I feel like a really thick neck would, the singer from Cannibal Corpse. I feel like his thick neck would just be really useful.
I reckon his dexterity skills, like, I mean, if you don't know Corpse Grinder, he is like a pro at those, like the claw toy games. Like every town he goes to, he plays them, gets all the toys and then donates them to like children's hospitals because he's a fucking sweetheart while singing songs called I Come Blood. But
at least he's better than G.G. Allen, yeah.
100%. But I reckon
he doesn't just come blood.
Yeah. I reckon like Corpse Grinder's dexterity skills may come in handy at some point in time. You don't know.
Yeah, or a bag of leather. What about you, Josh? What do you reckon? Who do you want with you?
So I had like my number one choice, and then like two kind of like runners up for different reasons. Again, I kind of gave it some thought and went, all right, well, I want someone that I can at least like engage with, have a conversation with, but also I want someone who's fit. Because I feel like that's going to be, there's going to be a lot of heavy lifting between us. So my number one is Andy Williams, the guitarist of Every Time I Die, because he is a tank of a human being.
He makes a guitar look like a ukulele. He's fucking huge.
He's massive.
He is massive. So I mean, he would help fight robots. He'd probably keep me fit. I think he'd be a good bodyguard as well. Because there'd be scavengers as well as zombies. Like, so he's going to fight off the scavengers, or if we have to become like the big bad ones, like, it's like when orcs get behind like the big orc, like this would be me behind him kind of thing. I'd be like, I'm going to follow that orc because he's the biggest orc. So I think Andy Williams would be my number one choice. My backup choices would be Matt Honeycutt from Kubla Khan, because he makes knives. So me and him can make knives together.
You already make knives. You don't want to diversify your skill set? Like
No, I want all the knives. I want every knife possible, so we can double our knife production if two of us are making knives. And also Matt Honeycutt cuts hair, and like I know that I look like a caveman with the beard and the hair and everything like that, but I really do like a good haircut. And so I mean, like even in the zombie apocalypse, I just want to kind of look nice. And my other option was Craig Reynolds, the drummer from Straight from the Path and the host of the Downbeat podcast, because he's just good for a laugh, because he's fucking funny. I love Craig.
And drummers are always fit. Like,
I do love watching his like drum reactions on YouTube. So I'd literally have to just get him to imagine me playing drums and then tell me which drummer
or you bonking zombies on heads.
I'm playing it fake.
100%. But yeah, Craig just good for a laugh more than anything else.
Oh no.
That's right. Back again. That's the magic of podcast. You just kind of
as I came back in that time, there was just white noise that happened for a second. It was like shh.
You love technology. But Grant, who would which musicians would you want with you in a zombie apocalypse?
I thought for me, like I got my answer. I have to go with Matt Heafy from Trivium. Dude's like 6'4", he's massive. Does judo, mixed martial arts, kendo. Yeah, he'd sort out all my problems. I'd just go hide behind a bush and let him kill him. But also, as like my honorable mention, Genghis Khan played the war drum, so I'm just gonna go Genghis Khan. Let him lay down, smack down.
It's more like Cengiz.
Genghis Khan.
It's like Cengiz. Yeah,
Genghis Khan.
Yeah, but and also you're probably related to him, so
yeah.
I really like the different strains. So for me, cover and sacrifice. Like I need someone I could shove in front of a zombie and get bit. Josh, it'd be really nice to have some good company, and like valuable skills. Grant, I'm going to hide behind a bush. You just go beat him up.
Yeah, you do.
There's some different strategies here for the zombie apocalypse.
100%.
I've watched enough zombie movies to know that you don't survive by fighting them.
You survive. I only watched what's that? Dawn of the Dead, the 70s one where they hide in the mall.
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I only watched that for the first time recently, and oh my god,
my favorite horror film. My favorite.
It is
horror
great.
film.
It was so good. The fake wall, It's great.
The remake of that is such a fucking like the perfect example of I could talk about this for so long. Like we
will talk about remakes.
Actually, no. Let me save that conversation for another episode. We'll do an episode about remakes I could literally talk for I reckon an hour just on the Dawn of the Dead remake because it's phenomenal.
It is good. It's one of the rare good remakes
and remasters. That's also a thing to consider. What do you reckon, our humble listener? Who would you like keeping you company in a zombie apocalypse?
Yeah, you got to follow us on Instagram at Northside Nerds, on Facebook as well. The podcast got on a Wednesday. Usually on a Friday, I'll post the image, so you've had some time to percolate.
Hashtag B&B.
No, I think like
I think B&B is adorable, and we need to make it kick off.
Yeah, 100%. We've had some good ones so far. Like the kickoff one, the who would win in a fight, Arwen versus Awen. It was a very very split decision. Like, it was very cut down the middle. I'm still getting messages about that. It seems like there was no clear winner there at all. So let us know in the comments. And tag your friends, tell your mum, listen to this podcast. We didn't swear that much.
Oh my God, I haven't even told my mum I have a podcast yet.
See, my mum follows me on Instagram, so I don't need to tell my mum.
Don't try telling my mum what Instagram is.
And also, if you don't like the podcast, just tell someone you don't like to listen to it, and that's fine by us as well.
100%.
Hate listening is therapy for free.
Yeah.
Yes,
100%.
exactly. So give us 5 stars.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Leave a review. Tell your friends. Blah, blah, blah.
Can you review podcasts anymore?
You can on Apple Podcasts. I don't think you can on Spotify. Yeah. If you're listening on Apple
Podcasts. I mean, if you're using Apple Podcasts, please leave us a great review. Yeah. You guys are cool and relevant.
5 stars.